Welcome back, I'm Paul, and today we have an empty Lotto barrel ready to start another batch. But today we're going to kind of start an experiment, something I've been kind of wanting to try. I've got some rocks here from our weekly 12-pound barrel that we clean every week, and if it's perfect, I have another bucket that we put all the rocks that are perfect that are ready to move to the next stage. And this one is the one that has all the stuff that has flaws in it. So what we're going to do is we're going to run these rocks in the Lotto, and we're going to run all the stages one day a piece. I'm going to do the 180 220 or 120 220, whatever it is, in medium grit for a day, and then we're going to do 500 grit aluminum oxide for a day. We're going to do 1,000 grit aluminum oxide for a day, and then we're going to do polish for a day, and we're just going to see how they turn out at the end, just because I'm curious. Because the rocks I don't really care too much about, and I'm sure they'll take a shine, but I don't know if they'll take a shine a day per stage, so we're going to find out today. I got this one. If you watch our weeklies, you might have seen this one. It's something we found locally. There isn't much excitement in here, but they're all rounded down, ready for the next stage. That one's kind of got some agate on it right there, you can see. And then this one's kind of like a moss agate. It's like red moss in there. And then this one was also one like that, like red moss. And there's another red moss like that I see. Other than that, there's nothing too exciting, nothing too colorful. There's some kind of a red jasper. And just a lot of stuff from a miscellaneous box that we bought. And I don't know what most of it is, but it polishes up all right. So, this one's... I've got one here that's really, really thin. It doesn't look so great, but it's so thin that if we were to put it back in a barrel, it would probably break. So we'll just see what it does in the vibratory. And we got another little piece of agate. And that one's got some like almost blue tint to the agate on the corner there. And the rest of it's got a bunch of moss in it. Let's see. This one's kind of cracked up a little bit. You can see that piece missing right here by this finger. There's a little chunk missing right there. And it's all cracked up. You see all the cracks. So it's never going to turn into anything too nice, but we've already wasted our time putting it in a coarse grit, so we might as well try to polish it. Yeah, there's all that. Looks like I got a whole bunch of littles in the bottom of this too. There's another one of those moss agates, the red moss, and you can see it's got like the vugs or whatever they call it, where there's like crystals in there. And we would basically tumble that to just about nothing to get rid of those. And that's why I've just decided that it's time to polish some of these. This one's one other. I've had another one of these. It's kind of a little moss agate. You can see just a little moss right there, and it's got a blue tint to it. Kind of looks purple in the camera there, I believe. And it almost has a purple tint to it, I guess. The other one, last one we did, was more blue. All right. So we're just going to load this up. And like I said, a lot of littles. But we've got jars that we put those in, so we polish all of them. There's some littles in there that are so small they're just going to get thrown away because they're too small to even filter out of the medium when we're done. So there's all the rocks we're going to run. I suppose it's about half the barrel. Put some media in there. Might have to get some more. And then we tip it upside down so everything's wet, no standing water. There we go. I'm probably going to throw just a little more media in there, and we'll get the camera set up on the Lotto, and we'll get it going on the medium grit. We're going to do all the stages the same as we do, other than the time. So we'll run 2 tablespoons of the medium grit. It's like 180, 220, or 120, 220. I don't remember which one it is. So we'll get it going, get our grit in, and we're not going to let it run for 24 hours. Alright, we'll be back tomorrow for the next stage. These rocks have ran for 24 hours in the medium grit. We're going to do a rinse, we'll wash everything up good, and we're going to move them on to 500 grit for a week, or for a day, I mean, for 24 hours. Well, that's how everything's looking. In between stages in the Lotto, even if you dry them off, they don't have any shine. Not even after the 1000 grit I've seen. So I can't really judge anything on that. So I'll wash them out better and get the barrel cleaned out a little better, and we'll get them on the tumbler and get them rolling again. Everything's all rinsed off. The barrel's washed out good, and we're going to get them rolling. We'll do 1 tablespoon of borax and a half a teaspoon of the 500 grit, and we're going to go for 24 hours again. Alright, we'll be back tomorrow and move on to the next stage. We ran the 1000 grit silicon carbide for a day, and now everything's all rinsed off good. I actually burnished the rocks in the barrel for a couple hours with borax, just because I polish in the same barrel that I run all my other stages in, because it's the only one I have. So everything's scrubbed up good, the barrel's in the barrel and the rocks, and we're going to get it going on polish, and we're going to let it go for another 24 hours. I haven't really been able to tell a difference between these rocks and the ones that I normally run for 3 days, but they'd never have a shine on them after 1000 grit either, so we will see how they look after polish is done. Well, we ran them through polish for 24 hours, and then we did a little burnish on them. Some people say it's not necessary, but these ones had a lot of voids and flaws in them, so I wanted to have that help me get the polish washed off a little easier. And as you can see, 24 hours on every cycle and in the Lotto tumbler, and they did get shiny. I will say that they're not, in person, they're not as shiny as some of the other batches I've done, and I'm probably not going to run anything that I have that's really nice just for one day. But I would say if I had some rocks that I didn't really want to spend a lot of time on because they have voids or problems or issues, that I wouldn't be afraid to go 24 hours on them and every stage. Normally I'm not in a hurry anyways, but it's nice to know how they actually do turn out. And they turned out decent. We'll look at a couple of them here. So this is one of the bigger ones. It's hard to see some of the details. It's got like, yeah, that little corner right there is like agate or chalcedony. My camera doesn't want to zoom in very well, but there we go. You can see that. And like I say, these ones had some flaws. I probably could have tumbled that longer, but it's got these holes back here too that I wasn't going to get rid of, so. And then we have this one. This is one that came out of our weekly 12-pound batch, and it just has voids all the way through it, all the way around. It still has a pretty cool pattern on it, and it's pretty shiny. And what else do we have? This is another one that I don't really know what it is, but I'm actually fairly impressed with how shiny they got just running one day cycle. I usually try to go about 3, but I'm thinking after this test I'm probably going to try sticking more like the 2 days, and I think they'll look really nice. That's an agate. You can kind of see some of the transparency right there where I put my fingers. It looks like it has like some red moss in it, and I've got a couple more like that. This is another one that you can kind of see on that one. I think you can see in the camera that it's not quite as shiny as some of the other ones we do. There's some little kind of almost dull spots, but that was as to be expected. That's kind of what I figured we would see, but I just wanted to try it. See how it turned out. We don't have a whole lot of exciting stuff. I think that's just a piece of chalcedony or agate. It had some really bad spots over here. There's a big hole in it right there, and it's all cracked up. You can't feel it, but you can definitely see it. What else do we have in this batch here? Here's another thin piece. Here's a bigger. And there's another one about like that one. You can see how it kind of, that material in there that's a lighter color, it's a type of material that isn't necessarily going to polish. You can see how it's kind of dull right there. You can see it kind of undercut a little bit, and we knew going in that this wasn't going to be the nicest batch we'd ever done because the raw material. But they're definitely shiny. Running them the way we did it, I've been running the 220 and then the 500 and then 1000 and then polish. So I'm running 4 stages in my Lotto. And Normally, if you do 4 stages, when I'm just doing 3 days, that's about 12 days to finish them. And these ones, we got done in 4 days. So, I mean, for a 4-day polish, well, 4-day finish cycles and polish, I think they look pretty good. So I guess the moral of the story is, if you're wondering or you're curious about anything like that, it doesn't hurt to try. Because I figured if they turned out terrible, we could just put them back in. And with the Lotto, you're out a very, very small amount of grit. So it's not really that big of a deal. A lot less than if you're running a vibratory, or I mean a rotary, and trying to polish in there, it takes a lot more grit. You can kind of see that one's a little, it's shiny, but it's a little duller than a lot of the ones we do. So I'll probably keep these ones separate. And if I have a time where my Lotto's sitting there empty, I might run them again. Do 2 days on each cycle and see if we can't get them a little shinier. But most of this stuff isn't all that. It's just going to go in our, we've got a random container that we put all the stuff in that we don't really know what it is, and it's not super, super nice. And we don't know what we're going to do with it all yet, but we're still coming up with ideas. We've got a few in our head, but we haven't really started doing any yet. But we almost got to get more built up before you really have much to do with. And that's pretty well everything except for all the littles. I do have this one agate here that you can see it has a purple tint to it, which is kind of cool. We had a couple other ones like this. But yeah, that one's pretty neat. So I think we'll call it there. That one's alright. You can see it's got a big hole in it right there, and I figured by the time we got that out of there, there wouldn't be anything left. And this side's pretty nice. So alright, well, I've got some videos, or some pictures, that we will tag on the end here. Some video, I took some pictures of them out in the sun, so they've got a lot more light shining on them. So I haven't even looked to see how they turned out yet, but hopefully they look good. We will tag those on in the end of the video, and thanks for watching.